favorite success that comes out of this work is like a deep sense of inner peace and okayness, like in your sense of self.
That's awesome. I know that you're changing people's lives. I mean, you're saying that it's them doing the work, but really having somebody to support you and fully believe in what you're teaching, like that makes such a difference because I think a lot of people are like, oh, you can do it, like, yay. But, somebody who is there that's like, you can do it because, like, I truly believe that we all have a purpose and we all have the universe on our side. I just think it makes it a little bit more like credible that you fully believe in all of this, and it helps. So, and I want to be that person for a lot of people. That's why the podcast is called Your Number One Fan, because I want to be that person that everybody has to cheer them on and kind of give them the tools to be themselves. And another thing, and you you also mentioned this, is how many pivots you had. That's like a big topic on this podcast, is just how much you can pivot in life. And it sounds like you were on like nothing crazy, like working on a farm to working it, in corporate America or something, but a lot of pivots. And I think I had very similar things, from going from one school and one major to another school and another major to working in healthcare to changing to work for myself. And a lot of that was so that I could work for myself, set my own hours, have the flexibility, um, choose how much money I want to make. But a lot of people don't have the same goals as us to work for ourselves. So, is there a way that let me try and think of how to formulate this question effectively. Is there a way that you help people because they don't necessarily have all the power over these jobs? So, how do you help people really live to their potential and be their best selves when they do have a boss and they do have to stay in this like more rigid structure? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't limit my coaching to people who have online businesses because I don't think you have to have an online business to be a creative person and to live a creative life and to be fulfilled. There are like people who love having a more structured corporate life, and that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that that can't be your passion too. Nothing wrong with that. Or you can also like be mindfully aware of, hey, okay, this isn't my passion, but it's giving me the resources to be able to fulfill that passion, right? Like maybe your passion is to be a mother or a father, and having that corporate job allows you to do that, right? Or, there's so many possibilities. And I think that you still have every reason and right and to still seek your soul purpose, whether that is like in your role, or if you're able to recognize, hey, it's not in this role, but I need to continue this role for a while, but I'm going to make steps towards this. Or the third option, like me, where I just woke up and said, this isn't it, like gotta go. Obviously it wasn't a snap decision like that, but there are many different ways of living a creative life and doing it on your own terms. And there's nothing wrong with getting a job to fulfill that. I actually recently got a part time job to be able to let go of copywriting because copywriting was taking too much energy for me, taking too much of my marketing focus away from what I wanted to be doing. And I want to be writing my own work. So I've been wanting to let that go for a while. And in order to fully do that, I had to get a part time job. And so I thought, hey, I need a part time job to give me more resources to pursue this coaching business more full time. And if I'm going to get a part time job, yes, I could get something corporate. That's an option. But for me, I know myself and I also have a need for community. So I'm going to purposely get a part time job that's filling that need. Right. So it's like, how can you see the other role you're in as fulfilling other needs that are supporting your passion? Right? It's not this or that. It's not like a black and white world. There's a lot of gray. And a lot of us don't like to see that. We like to see it's either this or that. Right? And this world is made up of gray. So honor that. how can you lean into that gray space and make it your own?
Yeah, I love all of that too, and that's awesome that you are letting yourself pursue what you want to pursue, but you have to, get some stability somewhere in the meantime. What and so you kind of are listening to the universe. You said you got some like signs. What do you recommend that the listeners and myself do to kind of look for that sign that the universe is there? Is there anything that you would say is an easy thing to just do today, like just to
Yeah.
feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. In hard times where I'm feeling disconnected and I need a sign, I go out for a walk in the woods and I don't bring music, I don't bring anything, and I just listen. And I kind of have like I call it a meditative walk. I kind of have a conversation in my mind with the universe where I'll just kind of share what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling a bit defeated. And I'll either ask, is there a sign you can send me when you're with me? And I'll listen if there's something that comes through intuitively. It doesn't have to make sense. Um, and then if nothing really comes through, I'll think intuitively, what sign could you give me? And then I honor what it is. So I was having one of these moments, and the sign that I had received was, I'll send you a hippo. Why a hippo? Like, right? And so like just don't question it. Just be like, all right, dude. Okay. And then you just have to be patient because it's going to come when you least expect it. And the next day, I turned the affirmation on my calendar and it was a picture of a hippo. So it's like, don't question it, right? Just ask for the sign or receive the sign. Don't question it and be patient. And then when you receive the sign, acknowledge it. Thank the universe. I often laugh because I'm like, okay, you
Hmm.
got me. Like, it often feels comical to me when I get the sign, or emotional, because there's been times where um, like during challenging times I've channeled departed family members, in particular my two grandmothers and I are very spiritually connected, and they'll say like, I'm sending you this sign, and I've seen them receive those signs. So it's just about being open, and the skeptic in you might talk back and be like, well, was that really that? Like, I sometimes get that. And I'm like, I'm just going to trust it because why not?
Yeah, I agree. That's how I
It's
kind of.
not like I'm going to jump off a cliff because I got this sign, right? Like, it's like, right, I'm not living my life by these signs. Um, but they can give you some comfort in times of struggle.
I was literally just about to say that. That's so funny. I feel like we're like right there. Yeah, I love that. And I think also with the signs, it can feel a little like confusing. I know for myself, I'm like, okay, if I should do this, I want to see this or I want to feel this. And then I don't. So I'm like, okay, did I not get the sign yet? Or is that an answer I shouldn't? Am I like formulating the question wrong? Like, what do you think? Does that make sense?
I think it's, well, I think that there could be a sense of too much control over it, because also I'm hearing should, and anytime I hear like should, I'm like ding 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 ding, because it's like, well, what is should? And like what do you mean should? Is it that you feel like you should be doing this because of conditioning? Or is it like you yourself want to be doing this, so you're imposing the shoulds on yourself, right? So anytime I hear should, I'm like, I don't like that might be blocking it a little bit. Um, I think too, like, I don't think there's anything like any wrong way to speak to the universe. Um, but I just am wondering if you're putting the shoulds on yourself with
Oh,
what
I
you're
definitely
actually,
am. Yeah, I am.
yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe that like something to get curious about.
Hmm. What do you think that I know that you said there's no right or wrong way to speak to the universe, but if you were like to recommend an affirmation for everybody to kind of do to feel confident or feel like you're living your truth, is there something that you would recommend to start with?
Mm. When I was really leaning, well, okay, first I want to add it's not that there's any right or wrong way to talk to the universe, but I will say like a right thing to always do is to extend gratitude, even in times where you're not happy, like recognizing like what you do have and what the universe has provided, because that will keep you connected, even in a time where you're not feeling connected. Um, I think that for me, when I first started talking more about anxiety, um, publicly, I was really struggling to feel that sense of confidence and sense of it was safe for me to be vulnerable. And so the affirmation that I used a lot that maybe will offer some insight here to others is, when I shine my light, it makes it easier for others too. And I would remind myself of that. And that would give me enough of a reminder that, like, I needed someone like that.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. And that's always been kind of the motto of my coaching practice and how I market is I have to go first. People
Somebody
have to
has
see
to.
me.
Hmm.
People have to see me do that to feel safe, to share, and to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I did start sharing, and this is what I wanted to also add when we were talking about fear of people from your past seeing you, when you're sharing these things or when you're talking about your creativity or sharing something important to you and you're feeling those fears of judgment, when I did start sharing more about anxiety, I had an old friend from grade school who I didn't even know was watching my stories. She reached out and said, just want to let you know how proud I am of you, how far I can see you've come from when we were kids, and how I just think of how you and I were just scared little girls together, and you look how far you've come, and you inspire me, and like something like that. And this isn't to stroke my ego, but it's just to tell you that you can think people are judging you and you can be inspiring someone, and you can be afraid to go first and to share your story, but you might validate someone so dearly in the process and make someone feel less alone. And to me, that's worth it every single time.
Oh yeah, I actually like the first time I really like took social media more seriously or like used it as more of an outlet than just posting like pictures of like selfies or whatever is I had a mental health focused Instagram and talked about my diagnosis, and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and anxiety. And I've had anxiety for a long time. And I've just been medicated and went to therapy, and I feel great now. But even just saying that now feels very scary. I haven't said that on the podcast yet, because I just feel like there's a lot of stigma still. But it is one of those things where I was posting those things and I would get messages all the time from people saying how thankful they were that I talked about it, or sharing resources, or, whatever it may be. So that really kind of validated for me that there are people out there that need to hear this. There are people out there who are looking for you. Like, and that's kind of what I've said before on the podcast is how, or maybe it was my TikTok, I talked about it. Like, how do you know that this next step that you are waiting to take you would be the person this other person's journey needs to take the step for their journey to move forward? Does that make sense? Like, the
Yeah.
universe needs you to do this for their trajectory to change because you're there now. And it's just, I think everything is really connected, and I think you would believe that too. And when
Yeah.
you do step into who you're meant to be, it's just the beginning of the rest of your life, in my opinion, because you just feel so good, and you really are giving back to the whole world. I think you being your most authentic self does the whole world a favor. And yeah, even just like still saying that I feel like nervous, but I think it doesn't
I'm
define who I
celebrating
am.
you. I'm
Thank you.
celebrating you because that's really hard. And it's like I think it's important to, and I think you're a beautiful example just now of coming to terms with healing and sharing what you want to share when you're ready. And I think that's important for us to also talk about, not to interject, but
No.
just like that there's a time and a reason. Like there's a reason you chose now to share that, right? And like there's a reason, like like, yes, you maybe are still a little fear in your body, but you know that someone else needs to hear that, and you're